65444 and let us know how you feel. Also on Facebook. I got somebody here on Facebook who didn't really say much. Okay. They said hi. Well, hi back. But yeah.
Man, a few words.
Yeah, a few words to that. But yeah, it's just what do you think of the comments from Bob Corker, Senator Bob Corker from Tennessee? When he was just he just kind of like went out in public. It was kind of like out of left field. Even CNN, who initially caught the story.
You know what they're saying now? You know what they call it? Instead of calling it backtracking, they call it black tracking. Okay, that means that you figured out that Barack Obama agrees with you on something, so you have to take a step back and not stick to your original position. So I would say that Corker is black tracking at this point because he was so gung-ho. Him and a lot of the Republicans were very gung-ho. And it's because they are the representatives of the weapons manufacturer. Absolutely. Yeah. That's where all the lobbying money goes. So these people were like, yes, rah, rah, rah. We're going to go to war. In the meantime, first they're spanking him because he didn't get a consensus. They want to spank him because he didn't go to Congress. Then he goes to Congress, and they spank him some more because, he wants to do what the American people want. And the American people have decided that they don't want to go to war. And these representatives are supposed to represent what the American people want. But they're not taking money from them. They're taking money from the corporations, So it's, to me, the poor guy can't win no matter what he does.
And Marie, on that point, so that's why I'm saying that it makes Barack Obama look not great, but not necessarily bad because he actually went to the people and said, look, I believe this is the right course of action that I want to take. I want to ask the people, I'm explaining the reason that I want to do this. I hope that you agree with me. And they didn't.
But I think the United States is in no position to go to another war. I
don't disagree with you at all.
Because he says that he wants pinpoint strikes, but it's not going to be pinpoint strikes. It's never that way. It always ends up being something more than what it's supposed to be.
Because we just basically got out of a recession. If we go into a war right now, we're back right into a recession that we can't possibly not even get out of.
And that's what he's worried about Syria, though. The reason that he's worried about Syria is because financially, it could put us in a situation where it'll be harder for us to get out of our recession.
Right, exactly. So I think he is doing the right thing by asking the people. But at the same time, I felt like it shouldn't even gotten this far. To me, it shouldn't even gotten this far. It should have been like, hey, Syria, you've grown. You have your own problems. Do your thing. Do what you have to do to resolve your issues. We can't continuously be that big brother. That's what the UN is for.
But the UN is like a toothless lion, man.
Hey, but they get things done, though.
Huh? Sorry, I mean, please explain to me what they get done, because, it seems like every time they're in a situation where they should step in and deal with a conflict, they're kind of like, nah.
Because they don't want to jump in and fight every bully out there?
I'm saying, if your job is to bring food to a country, and you just let the warlords take it, and y'all like, all right, when you leave, we'll puff out a chest. But right now, we'll chill. We ain't going to say nothing. So that's what I see the UN doing.
So you don't think the same thing happens with us? I'm going to give you an experience, a personal experience. I was in Bahrain, and we were delivering food to, locals or whatever. And, there was some sketchy individuals that came up and grabbed some of the crates. We knew they were sketchy. They looked sketchy. But there's nothing we can do. We're out of our realm. That's not our country. All we can do is to provide, show up, my personal opinion, show up, do what we have to do, and that's it. And I think that's what the UN does. I think the UN shows up, make their presence be felt, and do what they have to do, then let the governing forces. But if you're going to
do something that's supposed to benefit the people,
you are.
It should be organized. It should be organized in a way where there's a leader that you speak to, and I just don't understand. That's kind of like,
how is it benefiting the people if you're sitting there, you're looking at these sketchy individuals, and these are the same sketchy individuals that would be like, you're not going to get a pound of rice until you give us your kid so that he can serve in our military. You know what I mean? It's kind of, you're not really serving the people there. You're just, they're just, same stuff, different day. It's pretty much what you're doing to them.
Well, actually,
they're still going to be starving. Families are still going to be under siege. So it doesn't solve anything. So your money everything that you bring there, all that equipment, all the costs that you're doing, all this money and all this work that you're doing is for naught. I feel it's for naught. I mean, Ann, what do you think?
I think, it actually reminds me of something that's a little bit different, a little different geography, but similar military-industrial type of stuff going on. And this was with what happened in Sudan and Somalia. And, I'm reading, almost done with this really great book. It's an older book. It's called What is the What? It's by a guy named Dave Eggers. And it's a novelization about one of the men who is considered to be one of the lost boys of Sudan, one of those boy soldiers that were very highly publicized, within the last 10 years or so. The SPLA, which is a rebel faction in Africa, was basically, grabbing kids, and having them become soldiers at the ages of 12, 13, 14 years old. And he talked about essentially, what that was about. And what it was about is that in Khartoum, the Muslims essentially were trying to force Sharia law on, what were considered to be, a lot of tribal African ethnicities. And a lot of them were Christian because the missionaries had, turned them into Christians. And a lot of them just had their own tribal histories and tribal, religious practices. And the Muslims came in and wanted to impose, Sharia law. And so the country got split in half. But to speak to what you're saying about the United Nations, one of the things he talked about was his experience in the camps. And he was in a refugee camp for 10 years, the main character. And essentially the United Nations, it's a double-edged sword. On the one hand, they probably saved a large population its life in terms of the food that they brought in and the resources. On the other hand, they also set up the refugee camps in the absolutely most desolate places that didn't have access to running water, that didn't have access to farmland. I mean, these are people that are used to being very self-sufficient, and a lot of them were resisting going into the military, but at the time, it was as though that was the only option available to them. You either join the military or you starve. I mean, and that was one way to get fed. And they even had a system set up where, the UN would come in, and while the UN was there, everybody was, hunky-dory, everybody was working, everybody was doing their part. But at night, when the UN people would go back to their tents or camps, then the SPLA military would come in, and that's when they would take the rations, and they would take the supplies, and they would, whatever, for their own purposes, to feed their own soldiers. So, I think that there's always going to be well-intentioned people, and I think the UN is a well-intentioned organization, and I think the people that volunteer over there are well-intentioned people, because most of those people aren't really paid. They're like volunteers, like the Peace Corps. And so they're putting their own lives on the line because they really want to help other people. But I think there'll always be a larger entity that if they can exploit it, they will exploit it. And I just think we have to be aware of that.
Yeah, everything starts off with good intentions, but eventually there is a bottom.
There is a bottom.
There are people there. There's always people at the bottom.
The CEO of the Red Cross makes over $1 million. Good intentions.
Good intentions.
But he makes over $1 million.
That's all you got to say about that. I mean, I don't know. The situation in Syria, it's bad, but
messy,
it's very messy, and it's not going to go away. It's just going to continue.
I just want to say something. This is a public announcement from the Minority Men Show, and if any of the congressmen or women and politicians are listening, leave Syria alone. Let's focus on our own country.
And let's work together
the whole time. Like, there are so many issues here.
We're broke.
Go to Detroit. Let's go visit. Take a walk to Detroit.
Exactly.
See what's going on in Detroit.
Let's fix what's going on here.
You know what I'm saying?
There was a refugee. There was a woman who left with her kids, and she fled. She fled Syria, and she's just gonna wait. And she's ready to go back home. And when she goes back home, she's gonna go. At least she sees the light at the end of the tunnel. We don't need to make it worse than it already is.
Absolutely. And we're about to go into our commercial break and head into our second hour. And go ahead, Public.
No, go ahead. I was going to say, Miss Anne Marie is here from Point of Entry. Yeah. We just want to tell her thank you for so much for being on here.
And you're going to stick around a little bit longer, right?
I am. It's awesome.
Right.
I love you guys.
Awesome. Because I have a question for you when we get back.
Okay.
We're going to be switching gears when we come back. And
coming right up my alley, is that it?
Oh, it's going to be a serious question. It's about women.
Oh, boy, I love it.
We'll be back with the Minority Men Show.
Take care.
in Leone.